Hello, and welcome to Hope for Felons podcast, where we discuss felons and everything in between. Your host for this show is Douglas Van Vliet. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Hope for Felons podcast. We thank everybody for being on the show and for listening, and also listening to Hope for Felons Radio. We have seen that there has been some listeners, and we thank you so much for tuning in to Hope for Felons Radio, and I hope it will be a blessing to you. Today we want to take a little bit and actually go over a few things that will help you in your release. Okay, one of the things I want to point out is, we have said it several times in earlier episodes, but one of the things I want to be clear about is when we are released from prison, or actually a lot of times when we are in prison, we have a tendency to blame other people instead of blaming ourselves. And which, in all reality, we know that we cannot blame nobody but ourselves, because in reality, we are the ones that put ourselves in that situation. So we can't be blaming other people. And if you think that it's somebody else's responsibility to help you, then you are dead wrong. One of the things that we have to understand is what we do and our consequences. We actually done what we did, so nobody owes us anything. But we owe it to ourselves to change so this won't occur again. That's one of the big things that I believe. And one of the things I also believe is what we have to do is we have to have the tools that we need in order to stop anything from reoccurring. And what I mean by tools is, number one, we're going to have to make sure that we surround ourselves with positive people. We can't associate with people that is going to give us any negativity. If I thought for a moment that any of the people that I was associated myself with was bad for me, then you know what? I simply won't do it. Because I cannot risk going back to prison. And it's something that I will not risk, is going back to prison. So we have to be mindful of who we surround ourselves with. Who do we deal with on an everyday basis? Are those people going to be supportive? Are they going to be good for our release plan? Because I've seen several people that they get out and then they associate with the type of people that would hinder them from making the change, and then they end up back in a bad situation. So what we have to look at here is we have to say, okay, this is how it's going to be. We are going to stay positive. If there's any negative energy, then we're just simply going to do without those people. Now, I know and I understand that sometimes it can be difficult. And I know. I know how difficult it can be. I mean, we have to see that we try to associate with the right people, but in reality, any of those people that give, or say for instance, if they're into any illegal activity, you sure don't want nothing to do with them. But you know, I noticed too, even far as relationships goes, relationships is a big thing, especially coming out of prison, because everybody wants to be loved. I mean, if somebody tells you that they don't want to be loved, they're really telling you a lie, because in all reality, everybody wants to be loved. So when we talk about, you know, the fact that, you know, we don't care about a relationship, then we're actually probably lying deep down inside, because everybody wants a relationship. So I want you to keep that in mind, because I have noticed several times in my life that, you know, we all have a habit of saying, well, we don't want a relationship when we get out, or we don't want this, but you never know what may happen. I'm a kind of person that I know that I like a relationship. I like to be with someone, but at the same time, I have learned that sometimes you just have to separate yourself from that type of people. That's like me. I have a good friend that has been locked up in prison for a pretty good while, and we became good friends. But one of the things I have to ask myself is that person really truly good for my release? You know, not the fact that I believe that he would deter me in the wrong direction. I don't feel like that at all. But I have to ask myself, do I feel that that person has made a change, and that I would not have to worry about him when he gets out? That's a question I have to ask myself, because I do not, under no circumstances, want a person that has not changed that I may have to deal with going back to prison. No, I don't want that. And I think that one of the things that I have noticed is not everybody has the issue with anger management, but you do have some people that do. And I recommend, if you did not go through the anger management classes in prison, that you definitely take those classes when you get out. I really believe they are helpful. I know for myself, I never really had an issue with anger as much as I was on not stopping and evaluating the situation before something bad happens. Now I've learned to use the tools to say, okay, well, I can't do that because this right here would happen. This is what the outcome would be if I don't do this. So when we actually stop and we think, then we realize that, okay, maybe I shouldn't do this. And that could be for anything. It could be choosing your mate. It could be anything in life in general. But you want to make sure that you step one step backward and look at the situation and see if this is the best thing for you. That's what I had to do with myself. I've been out almost 3 years. So one of the things I always tell myself is, you don't want to go back to prison. You're going in the right direction. You don't have no desire for any of the things you did before. Now it's time for you to go forward and be positive. And anything that may be negative or feel that it could be negative, I think it's the time to say, nip it in the bud. As Andy Griffith would say, nip it in the bud. That's what he would say. So, by saying that, I really truly believe that we have to tell ourselves, look, we cannot, under no circumstances, put ourselves in that situation, because you know what? That's where we go talking about negativity. That will definitely be a lot of negativity right there. And that's something that we don't want. So we have to take that also in consideration. One of the next things we have to take in consideration is, I know that everybody has family. And sometimes that family could actually bring negativity to us. So we also have to look at ways that we can handle our family members, which I know some people that just don't go around their family members because they're very negativity. They're very negative. So when we run into issues with that, we have to be very careful. But at the same time, I don't think that it's wrong to say, hey, brother so-and-so, I just got out of prison. One thing I'm trying to do is change my life around. I don't feel comfortable right now being around you because blah, blah, blah. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. And if your brother or whoever it may be does not accept that, then it's basically on him. But he should understand, but I know everybody don't understand, so no telling what you're going to deal with and what the response from him might be. But we need to think about that. We need to make sure that whoever we are dealing with, that we let them know if there's any negative energy, say, look, I'm sorry, but there's no way that I can be around you right now. One other thing is we have to keep our mind right. We have to keep our mind right. We have to stay focused. Whatever in life that we do, we have to stay focused. I know, like me, I take college classes, so I stay very focused. I do have medical issues and stuff too, but for real, I keep very focused. I don't have time to do nothing hardly but work on my schoolwork, do my podcast, make sure that things goes like it should go, and that's a full-time job for me. So, find out what you like to do and actually try to do that to keep you motivated and keep positive energy flowing. So you won't have no issues down the line with maybe, something coming up, or, you feeling a certain way that would make you go back to whatever you was doing. That's what you want to avoid. Especially right when you get out, because right when you get out, everything is on you. So you have to make that determination. Okay, do you want to do this? Do you want to go back to your old way? Or do you want to do the right thing? That's one of the things I believe that is very crucial for when you just get out. Now, one other thing I would like to share with you is, especially when you're dealing with relationships. I have to go back to relationships because we know that it's going to come. If you're not in a relationship now, you're going to be in one later. So we all know that not everybody feels the same way as we do. But I feel that it's very, very, very important to be honest with your mate. If you can't be honest with your mate, then how can you expect your mate to be honest with you? So we have to tell ourselves, regardless of the situation, we're going to be honest with our mate. Now let's talk about another thing. Another thing that a lot of people have an issue with, and that is working. Working is a big step, and I know you're going to say, especially with the COVID, you can't find a job. Well, I'm telling you right now that a lot of people coming out of prison, I know you have a hard time anyway finding a job. But one thing that we have to do is everybody has to work. If you don't work, what is it? You don't eat. So you have to work, and the probation officer wants you to work. So the best thing that you can do is try your best, even though it might not be the best environment. We still have to make the best of it. So that's where it takes the tools to help you deal with maybe being on a job. Maybe some of the people on the job have done or doing the same thing you might be doing. So one of the things you're going to have to do is you're going to have to say, okay, I'm working with this person. I don't agree with this person's doing, but I'm going to stay my distance from that person. And that's going to take a very hard part of you. It's going to be very hard to say, no, I'm not going to associate with that person. But we do have to work together to get a job done. And maybe, just maybe, you could actually be a help to that person if you say, hey, I have went down the same road, and I would really hate for you to go down the same road that I went down. What a better opportunity that would be to help somebody. And maybe you could get that person turned around so they don't go down the same road that you went through. that goes back to me. One of the reasons I started Hope for Felons was to be able to help inmates when they're released, and to help felons so they don't go down the same road that I've been through. I mean, it's been rough. It's been tough. But I think a lot of it is now is, everything has been a learning process. And, I feel that it's good to go to therapy. It's good to get the help. But if you don't help yourself within, then you're not going to get the help that you need. You're not going to be successful. You have to be willing, and you have to want to make the change, or it's not going to happen. So we have to be very, very careful on what we do, who we associate ourselves with, who we become in relationships with. We have to be very careful. And I really believe that sometimes in life, I feel especially that sometimes I might not have been the greatest person, but I always considered myself, even though I was doing the wrong thing, I didn't consider myself to be a good person. But anytime anybody needed help, I was there. Anytime anybody needed me, I was there for them. So we actually, that's basically what we're going to be talking about for the next few weeks, because I know that I've been wanting to do more videos, but it seemed like sometimes it had been very tough. We had computer issues, we had every issue you could think of, it seems like. But now we want to share with you what you can do to help yourself to be a better person. Thank you for tuning in today, and God bless you.